Hey reefers, it's been a minute since I uploaded a video. Just wanted to do an update on my 150 gallon mixed reef tank. I think it's been 7 months since I posted a video on this. So there's been a lot of changes to the tank. I mean, especially the rockscape. Added a bunch of rockscapes to hold all my newer frags that I've collected over the past year. You know, I'm just one of those guys that hate anything on my glass, so I prefer not to have a, frag rack at all. I prefer to just try to find a spot for the corals. I know it looks really crowded and a lot of corals in here that may eventually grow into each other, but that's pretty much a long way from now. I mean, you're talking about another year or two, and when that day comes, I'll be prepared to start moving them around and just fragging them just so they don't touch and kill each other. So this tank has been running for over 2.5 years now, but it's only been running corals the past year. Most of the corals were transferred over from my other tank because that other tank apparently started leaking. I mean, it wasn't like a crazy leak where I had to move all the corals over. It was just a little drip that's coming from the bulkhead, and then over time the leak just got worse. So I figured, you know what, I have to move these corals over here. And this tank here was basically just supposed to be a fowler tank, which it was running fowler for the first year and a half. But overall, I'm really happy with how the tank turned out. I know it's, like I said, it looks crowded, but once I give you a top-down view, you can see how spaced the corals really are, especially the smaller frags that are on top. So just wanted to also talk about my parameters. So basically, I only test for 3 things, and I only started testing January of this year. So the 3 main things I test is alkalinity, alkalinity, phosphate, and nitrates. And currently I run my alkalinity around 8 to 9.5, and my nitrates are really high. I run really high nitrates in this tank because I do feed a lot, and my nitrates range from, I say, in the 30s to 40s. And my phosphate, believe it or not, it is really high at 1.0. Yeah, 1.0. It's a really high phosphates. And I was kind of panicking when I first tested the tank back in January, but then, it's been doing well for me as far as corals and everything. But as you can see, I am starting to get the cyano starting to pop up recently. And I'm just going to let the cyano do its thing. When I do my bi-weekly water changes, I do try to siphon as much as I can off. But, it's not really affecting the corals at all. It's just, an eyesore seeing that red slime on your sand bed. But, overall, as long as the corals and fishes are happy, I pretty much don't chase any kind of parameters. I just let us do its thing. So, yeah, for the past, since January, 6 months, that I've started testing my nutrients, phosphate, and alkalinity, I run really high. I know there's parameters that people set out there, like they want you to be in a certain range. And yeah, I agree with that. But, sometimes your tank runs differently than anybody else's, because I noticed that when my nitrates was really low, in the 5, corals weren't looking too good, So I started dosing, I don't remember what I was dosing. I don't know. I just dosed it one time. It's just dosing nitrates, and that's it. I never had a dose again. I think because I started feeding a lot more heavier and noticed that my nitrates has been going up. And I really like to run the high nitrates in my system just for the corals. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, don't chase numbers. Just do what your tank tells you to do. I'm still kind of nervous because, the standard is, especially for phosphate, is what, 0.05. That kind of scares me because I'm running 1.0. It's really high, to be honest. But like I said, as long as my corals have nice colors, polyp extension, and you can see a lot of new growth tips right there, a lot of white or purple growth tips. So as long as everything in the tank looks happy, I'm not going to worry myself with trying to chase numbers, because when you do chase numbers, it's going to cause some problems. Like, people I've talked to told me to start running GFO, but then when I watch videos and did the research on running GFO, sometimes if you don't do it properly, it'll it'll bottom out and then your corals will start paling, you know. So I don't want to take that risk. I mean, the tank's been running this high for the past 6 months, so I'm just gonna let it do its thing, you know. I'm thinking, like, if I do drop my phosphates down to, at least 0.5, maybe I'll have better growth. But I mean, just sometimes just gotta leave things alone, don't mess with things when stuff ain't wrong. I mean, you want to be proactive. You want to make sure you catch the problems before it gets any worse. But I mean, like I said, it's been 6 months, maybe even longer, since I did run a fowler tank with a lot of predator fish, and that could be the problem right there, where it's just the system it's stable enough to handle the high phosphate, in my opinion. But I mean, when I did look into it more, I don't think it really has to do with my feeding schedule. I do feed a lot, but I don't feed a lot, if that makes sense. I mean, I feed throughout the day, not like I don't do one big feeding at once. I just, plan that out to feed them like every couple hours, So I mean, I don't think it's a lot where it's overwhelming the tank and causing the crazy spike in phosphate. But in my opinion, I think it's down to my rocks. My rocks are leaching phosphates. And also with my research, if a rock is leaching phosphate, you run the GFO or you run whatever to remove the phosphates, it'll go down, but then it'll just creep right back up, So I don't even want to do that. It's just like, I'm gonna still watch my tank, which I do every day. I make sure everything looks good. So if I see something change, then I'll take a drastic measures to correct it. But other than that, I'm just gonna leave my system the way it is running for now, and just continue like my daily routines. And that's one thing too. When people talk about stability, it's all about routine. Feeding the fish certain times, certain amount, keeping up with your water changes. That's how you keep a system stable. And then you check parameters just to see, okay, my corals are consuming this much, so I need to figure out another way to put that into the system. I run my system pretty simple. I don't do much dosing. I mean, I don't think I do a lot. I don't even have much equipment. All I run in my sump is a skimmer and a dosing pump, which the thing I dose in my tank is Kalkwasser in my auto top off. I also dose all for reef, and I dose Acro Power. And then when I noticed my alkalinity started, like, I couldn't keep it above 7, so that's when I started dosing Kalk Slur, the little milky Kalkwasser mix, where it stirs. And yeah, that's what I dose, is the Kalk Slur. So that's been helping keep my alkalinity above 8. I mean, I really want it in the 9s, but it's been pretty hard to keep it, up in the 9.95s unless I start dosing more. But I'm kind of trying to do things a little slowly, so I'm gonna probably up the dose later down the road. So I mean, that's about it. Just keep it simple is the best thing. The more gadgets, the more tech you put into the system, the more chances something would fail. It's just keep it simple, keep it hands-on, watch your corals, see what they tell you and what's going on. Sometimes you can look at a certain coral and know, oh shit, something's wrong with my tank. For me, my canary in the coal mine is my purple stylo. Believe it or not, it's just easy to keep coral, but once I notice that the white tips aren't there, I notice something's wrong with my tank. It's not like it's gonna die, but I just noticed that if it doesn't show the little white tips, the new growth tips, I know something's missing in my tank. But other than that, like I said, I just watch my tank and just keep up with my routine, just try to keep it stable the way it is, and everything should fall into place. It's not easy. It takes time and effort, but you just gotta pay attention to your tank. You can't just set it and forget it. You gotta have some kind of passion for the hobby to succeed. So this is my June 2024 update, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comments. I'm not super experienced, but I can help out any way I can. If you have any questions, just let me know. Have a good weekend, and